created a video called Tea Consent before the book was made, that had gotten very popular. And so I was thinking a lot about that work at the time. My daughter was about 6 years old, and she came home from school one day and she was very sad. And I asked her, what's wrong? And she said she didn't want to talk about it. And she was just kind of glum for a while. Finally, she said, well, someone at school kissed me today. And I said, oh, well, how, is that like your friend? Like what happened? She said, no, I'm not friends with this person at all. I didn't like it. And I was so upset. I just put my head down and wished the day would be over. Did you talk to the teacher about it? And she said, no, the teacher didn't see. And I was embarrassed. I didn't want to say anything. And I said, well, did you tell the other kid? Like, I don't like that. That's not, I don't. And she said, no, I just felt embarrassed. I didn't know what to say, and it wasn't a huge thing, but it was a big thing to her. And so I emailed the teacher that night and I said, hey, this thing happened. I know you weren't aware. My daughter was very upset. Maybe this would be a good time to start talking about consent in the classroom. Her response was, thank you for telling me there is no touching in first grade. You can't touch, you can't hug, you can't kiss, you can't hold hands. That child's mother will get a phone call. And I thought, well, first of all, it's not the mother's fault. And second of all, the kid is not a terrible kid. They, people have to learn to respect other people's boundaries. They have to learn about consent. And so it had been kind of a good moment where the teacher could have helped the students understand, but instead she chose to just be. So that's where the idea for the video came from, was taking something that wasn't, quite as edgy and for adults as a tea consent, and making something for kids that just says like, hey, you have your body. These are your boundaries. You decide, state what they are, and listen to each other. And then we ended up just putting it out online, and it became very popular around the world. We had many translations, about 15 or 20 translations were made. Actually, Hachette in the UK are the ones that came to me and said, hey, we really love this video. We want to make a book. I think it's kind of for every kid, in the sense that I think we all have the capacity to tread on other people's boundaries, sometimes by accident or just we're careless. I think we also all have been in situations where other people have crossed our own boundaries because they weren't being nice or because we weren't being clear or whatever. It's both to empower every kid to speak up for themselves, but it's also to create that awareness so that kids really, I think, in every kid's life, and it doesn't have to be around sexuality, it can be just around their interactions day to day. There are often a lot of consensual things. When you see something you want in another kid's hand, you drag it out of their hand, you take it by force. That's not consent, right? Even, anything where you're engaging someone's body in a particular way, if you shove someone, if you, things that are sort of typical kid behaviors, you can think about in terms of consent and whether or not, like, who gets to have control over a person's body. It should be the person. One of my favorite areas is basically about how important it is to be able to change your mind. Here, a lot of time kids are taught that, like, whatever you say, you have to stand up for your word, and you said and you promised something. And so you want kids to follow through on what they say. But that's really not true with someone's body. And I think a kid might agree to something and then be very uncomfortable with that and decide, no, actually, I don't want that anymore. And understanding that that's your right.